So thank you for joining us. Like I said, my name is Donna Lee. Welcome to, this is our fourth program in the Learn to Camp series by Parks Canada. It's been a great treat to listen to these programs the last few weeks. The first three have been recorded, so if you did miss any of the first three sessions, we will be posting them on our website over the next few weeks. We will make them available. I'm very pleased to welcome Briley and Vanessa from the Parks Canada team to present our program this evening. If you have questions, you can certainly put them in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat, so you can ask questions as we go, or you can save your questions and ask your questions at the end. Oh, someone says they love camping. I love camping too. In fact, I've been camping all my life. My parents took me on my first camping trip when I was just a baby. So I literally have been camping all my life in many, many places. I've camped all over North America. So I'm very pleased that this program series has been something that has been that is a great passion of mine and has brought much joy to my life. So, someone else is going camping at the end of July. That is fantastic. So thank you for joining us. We might have a few more people coming to join us as well, but I'm going to turn it over to Briley and Vanessa now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Donnelly, and to the Vaughan Public Library for hosting us today. We're very excited to see all of your enthusiasm about camping, and we hope you learned something new from our presentation today. I'm just going to pull that up now. So hello, bonjour everyone. My name is Briley and my pronouns are she and her. And I work for the Learn to Camp team here at Parks Canada, and I'm based out of the Rouge National Park here in the Greater Toronto area. I'm also here with my coworker Vanessa, who will introduce themselves now.
Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa and I'm also part of the Learn to Camp team at the Rouge. And I'll be here today to send some links in the chat and to answer any questions you might have, both throughout the presentation and at the end during our question period.
So Parks Canada would like to acknowledge that the Rouge National Urban Park is built on the ancestral land of many nations. These nations include the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Huron-Wendat, and Mississaugas of the Credit. At the Rouge National Urban Park, we're very proud to be working closely with 10 First Nation partners through the First Nations Advisory Circle. We do this on the establishment, management, and planning of the park. And we also work closely with our First Nation partners on a number of important projects, including archaeological fieldwork, restoration projects, and the development of visitor facilities. So since we're all on a video call today and not in the Rouge National Urban Park, we would love to encourage you to learn the history of the land in your area by exploring the nativeland.ca website, which Vanessa will provide a link in the chat for you now. As you can see on the screen, it highlights the diversity of the First Nations people here in Canada. It's a great website where you can filter different treaties, languages, and a great resource to learn more. So if you have the time, please feel free to visit that website. A little bit more about Parks Canada. At Parks Canada, it's our mission to protect and present Canada's natural, cultural, and agricultural heritage. We do this through our national parks, national historic sites, national marine conservation areas, including Canada's first national urban park, which I work from, the Rouge, which is located here in Toronto. So here is a little look at the Parks Canada mandate. So on behalf of the people of Canada, we protect and present nationally significant examples of Canada's natural and cultural heritage and foster public understanding, appreciation, and enjoyment in ways that ensure their ecological and commemorative integrity for present and future generations. So that's from our charter from 2002. So a little bit more about the Rouge National Urban Park that I've already mentioned. You can see this beautiful photo that was just taken just outside of the city. And you can see why it's called a National Urban Park, because it is a natural landscape very close to an urban area. And it's a very unique park because it's the only one of its kind in all of Canada. It was established to protect the area's natural, cultural, and agricultural heritage and it has over 10,000 years of human history, including some of Canada's oldest known Indigenous sites, and some of the last remaining working farms as well in the Greater Toronto area. What's great about this park is that it can be accessed by transit, it's always free to visit, and it's just a great place to explore nature near the city. So if you'd like to learn more about the Rouge, you can take a look at our website, which Vanessa will provide a link in the chat for you. Now I'm also here representing the Learn to Camp program, and this is an amazing program that is here to help beginner campers learn about the basics of front country or car camping. So through this program together, we will learn how to feel more comfortable in the outdoors and highlight ways that we can camp safely. So some of the topics I'm going to be covering today are what to know before you go. In this section, I'll talk about how to make a safety plan and some essential items that you should bring with you. Next, we'll move on to what to know while you're there. And this includes some environmental awareness, wildlife awareness, and something called Leave No Trace. And then after the presentation, we'll have a question period. So you can either ask your questions throughout in the chat or wait to that point of time. So I'd love to begin by sharing my story of how I first fell in love with camping. So my love for camping began from many visits to Algonquin Provincial Park as a child. My family would all go together and camp on the lake for about a week's time. And I loved to go swimming, play cards with my brother, and eat treats off the fire. So for me, camping was always a special experience because I got to do fun activities with the people that I love most. And today, I still love going camping. It's a little more work because now I have to do all the planning, but it's still a great experience. And I love to go with my friends. Some areas that I got to check out this summer were Rock Point Provincial Park, and I'm soon going to Long Point Provincial Park. So if you need any campground recommendations as well, let us know. So to begin, I'll be going over some important information to know before we go on a trip outdoors. And it's always a good idea to start by making a safety plan. So in this section of the presentation, I'll be covering what a safety plan is, why it's important, and how to plan using the Adventure Smart app. So what is a safety plan? Well, a safety plan can mean many different things in many different situations, but it really is just about making sure that somebody else is aware of your plan so that if there is an incident or an accident, you can get someone will notice that you didn't return on time. So this presentation is mostly about camping, but we also want to tell you that it is very important, even if you're just going on a day hike and not camping overnight, to make a safety plan. So some of the things that you should include in the safety plan is who is going. So details like how many people and what age. You should also have a good idea of who you plan on sending your trip plan to. So it shouldn't be someone that's already with you. It should be someone that you trust that's at home. So when we go for country camping, we most often have to check in and out with the park staff at their office when we arrive and leave. However, when we go on our own adventure outdoors, such as a hike, it's important to share your safety plan with someone who isn't going on this hike. So the first step is to write down who is going, and the second is to consider who are you sending your trip plan to. So next you should include details like where are you going. So be very specific, use the location name, and also write down your estimated return time. These details will really help authorities understand your behavior and where to look for you in the event that something goes wrong. And where you are going, like I said, use the location name and your estimated return time, but then you also want to include details about the activities that you're doing, such as hiking, camping, or paddling. So here are a few more details that you should include. So what supplies are you bringing and what equipment do you plan on bringing? This will also help authorities locate you and understand how prepared you are in the event that you have to stay longer than you plan to stay. So you should include details about how much food and water you're bringing. If you plan on bringing a shelter, such as a tent, it's a great idea to include the colors of your equipment as well. So for example, I'm bringing an orange tent and I'll be wearing blue pants and a white top. All of these really specific details will help authorities locate you in the event that something goes wrong. So why is a safety plan important? Well, it's important because, like I said before, it can help authorities find you. If you leave a safety plan, then that means that somebody knows when to expect you home, and they can call the police if you don't arrive home on time. So they can also share important information with the police, such as where you went, what equipment you have, and what they might want to look for. So I also think a safety plan is a great idea because for me, it also increases my self-confidence and helps me feel safe knowing that somebody else knows where I am and can help me return safely in the event that I need help. So how can you make a safety plan? Well, something that I love to recommend is the Adventure Smart app. It's a very easy, user-friendly app that you can download onto your phone. And it's totally free. It breaks down the information you need to plan your trip, and it makes it really easy to share with others as well. But if you don't want to use the app, that's totally okay too. Even just writing your safety plan down on a piece of paper or in an email, then you can just email it to someone close to you, and you can make your safety plan that way as well.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's your question?
So, if you tell someone your plan and then should you call them first to see if they're okay, if they're late, or just call the police first? What should you?
That's a great question. Yeah. Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head. You should definitely try calling them first just to make sure, oh, maybe they're extending their hike a bit longer, or maybe they already returned home sooner and just didn't let you know. So just checking in with the person who sent you the safety plan is always a great idea. And then when you don't hear back from them for a bit of time, then that's when you should call the police. Great question. Okay, so now I'd love to practice with everyone. So let's make a safety plan together. So we're gonna go on a hypothetical hike right now. So today we are going on a hike in the Rouge National Urban Park. There are 3 adults, 2 kids, and a teenager in our group. We are bringing our dog. The weather is a bit uncertain. It looks sunny right now, but we don't know. It could potentially rain later. So what information do you think I should write down in our safety plan? You can let us know in the chat. Yep, so approximate time we're leaving, the location, good. So you could write down we're going to the Rouge National Urban Park. Yep. Yep, the amount of people. So there's 6 of us. Color of our clothes. Yeah, these all look great. Awesome answers, everyone. Yeah, color of the tent. Perfect. Yeah, that looks great. So some things we always want to note in the safety plan are who is going, like many of you mentioned, and who are we going to send our trip plan to? Where are we going and what are we doing? So we're going to the Rouge National Urban Park and we're going for a hike. When are we going? So you could say we're going, for example, at 2 p.m. And what supplies and equipment are we taking with us? So like I mentioned, the weather's a bit uncertain. So maybe we could mention that we're bringing our rain jackets. These are all great details that we can include. All right, so we've learned that planning ahead and being prepared is important for our safety when we are camping or outdoors. And one way to help us be safe is to bring some essential items. So by essential, I just mean that they're really important. And by bringing these important items with us, we can help ensure that we are prepared for any situation while we are outdoors. So here on the screen, I have a photo of some items that I could choose to take with me in my backpack. And some of these items are probably a bit more helpful than others. So which of these items would you choose to take with you on your own adventures to help keep you safe? You can write your answers in the chat for us. Yeah, a water bottle, absolutely. Medical kit, we need food. Yes, a hat, a flashlight, sunscreen. What do you think about the ukulele?
You're not going like camping and you're not playing with friends. Like if you're going hiking, like why bring a ukulele?
Yeah, I mean, you could bring a ukulele on a hike just to have a little bit of entertainment, but you're right, it's not really an important item that would really help us get out of a situation, right? So not super important. Yeah, good job. A sweater, yeah, so some extra clothes is always good. A map, good hiking shoes. Yeah, these are great answers. Mosquito, yeah, awesome. So here I have a list of 10 essential items that we recommend you take on any trip outdoors with you. All of these items can usually fit into a small backpack like so. So it's a great way to pack them all really efficiently. So the first item that we recommend bringing is a flashlight or a headlamp. So many of you have already mentioned this before. So yeah, this is a great item to have. The chances of getting lost are a lot greater when you're moving at night, and it can be dangerous. So it's important to take even if you're going for a daytime hike, because it can get dark very quickly and you should always be prepared. The next item we have is a fire making kit. So usually this has like a lighter and a fire starter in it. I have a small kit here, and it includes a bit of tinder as well. So it's important to note that we should never light a fire in an undesignated area. This is only to have in case of an emergency. So being able to make a fire very quickly will help you stay warm, maybe even cook some food. It could create a signal, so the smoke from the fire could alert someone of your presence, and it also helps keep animals away. So the next one is a signaling device. So this could be an item such as a small whistle like so, or even a mirror. And these items can increase your chances of being seen or heard. So if someone's looking for you, you can either blow the whistle or you use the mirror to reflect the light at someone and signal them of your presence. The next, I think one of the most important, is extra food and water. I know for any hike that I'm going on, I always get hungry, so I always make sure to bring extra snacks. And you want to plan out how much water you're going to need as well. Always bring extra just in case. We usually need half a liter to 1 liter of water per hour of outdoor activity. And having those snacks as well can just give us an extra energy burst we need to get out of an unplanned situation. So always bring extra food and water. And the next one's extra clothing. So like I mentioned in the safety plan, maybe it might rain later. You never know, the temperatures can change, the weather can change dramatically, and it's important to stay dry and warm. The next one is navigation aid. So you want to carry maps and a compass at minimum. I know GPS or cell phones can be really handy and valuable tools, but sometimes we can run out of battery or lose cell phone coverage. So it's a good idea just to always carry a paper copy with you just in case. Usually when you go on a hike or go to a park, you can find a copy of a paper map like so. Number 7 is a first aid kit. So a first aid kit, I have one here. It includes a lot of different things that could potentially help you in the event that you are injured. You can see here some medical tape just fell out. There's scissors, there's tweezers, there's wound pads, so lots of different useful things in here. And it's also a great idea to take a first aid course so that you know how to use it properly. I know the Canadian Cross and St. John's Ambulance offers a great first aid course option. So next we have an emergency blanket. So this blanket will help keep you warm and dry. The one in the photo, it's a very light, compact, and it's also reflective, so it will preserve your body heat. And it can also be used as a signaling device. I have one here. It's been used, so it's pretty big, but it's basically like a giant piece of tin foil. And you can just wrap your body in it, and it'll keep you really warm. Next, we have a pocket knife or a multi-tool. This is a great tool you never know you need until you need it. For example, if you need to cut anything, there's a knife on it. There's even scissors on it for you. So it has lots of handy tools that can be super helpful in the event that you need them. And lastly, we always recommend bringing sun protection. This includes sunglasses, sunscreen, and a hat. This will really help protect you from dehydration and sunburns. Even if it's not supposed to be a sunny day, it's important to have, just in case the weather changes, the UV rating can still be very high, even if it's cloudy. We also recommend testing all of this gear at home, just to make sure that they work properly before you bring them outdoors with you. If you have the space as well, we also recommend setting up your tent, making sure you know how it works, making sure you know how your stove works outside before you go. You just want to be super comfortable with all of your equipment and know how to pack it and unpack it so your trip goes very smoothly. Great. So now that you are prepared to go on your camping trip, let's have a look at some tips to keep in mind while you're there. So it's really important to be aware of your surroundings when you're camping or when you're outdoors. And we're going to talk about a few points for environmental and wildlife awareness. And then we'll give you some general tips for how to leave no trace when you go camping. So while you're enjoying your time outdoors, there are some different factors that you should be aware of. The first is your environment, and you can see here on the screen some different examples are rivers, roads, steep cliffs, and unstable edges. So while these places are often beautiful to look at, you need to take extra special care around them to avoid any accidents and to ensure your safety. So for example, if you're at a campground and it has a river or any water nearby, you need to make sure that small children are taught to stay away unless they're with an adult. And even for adults, if you're hiking a beautiful trail and there's a cliff edge that would make for a great photo, don't go close to the edge. Many people, unfortunately, get seriously injured by taking dangerous selfies, and it's just really not worth it. And also, don't forget that campgrounds often have lots of winding roads through them. And if you're biking or walking, you still need to be very aware of all the vehicles around you. So some other environmental factors that you should think of are the weather. So in Canada, we are fortunate to have 4 different seasons, but these seasons can also come with extreme weather. So in the summertime, when most of us are camping, we want to be aware of the heat because it can sometimes cause us to feel ill. This is called heat exhaustion or heat stroke, and it can become quite serious if you're not careful. So some ways to stay safe in the heat are by drinking lots of fluids, using sunscreen and hats to protect us from the sun. We often don't take this seriously enough, but it is very important. Next, it can also get pretty cold, even in the summertime in Canada. So in order to protect ourselves from the cold, we can take steps to stay warm during our time outdoors by wearing some layers and packing some extra clothes. So one of my favorite things about camping is that it brings us closer to wildlife. But that being said, there are different signs of wildlife we should look out for so that we respect the animals and also protect ourselves. A great rule is to give wildlife as much space as possible. Parks Canada suggests that if you can see the animal, then you should definitely consider how close you are to them. So we came up with the thumb rule to help you measure if you're too close to an animal or not. So the thumb rule goes as so. If you stick your arm out straight ahead in front of you and stick out your thumb, you want to try to cover the animal completely with your thumb. So you can see here in the first image, I'm trying to cover the blue jay with my thumb, but I'm too close, so I'm unable to do so. But as soon as I back away and create more space in between myself and the blue jay, I'm able to completely cover it with my thumb, and that's when I know I'm a safe distance away. So if you're ever unsure about if you're too close or not, you want to, on average, stay about 100 meters away from wildlife, and this is a good way to measure it. And also, you want to remember that animals generally do not want to hurt you, and by keeping our space and by keeping our places clean, we can make sure that we help protect the animals and ourselves as well. Great, so on to plant awareness. So many parks in Ontario have poisonous plants. For example, at the Rouge National Urban Park, the 3 main plants to look out for are poison ivy, stinging nettle, and cow parsnip. But if you stay on the trail and look out for signs, such as the one in the photo, which indicate which poisonous plants to avoid, you should be okay. So it's always important to stay on the trail, but sometimes people don't realize it's because it helps to protect you from poisonous plants as well. But different parks will usually share information with you about what plants to avoid, and you can always just ask the campground office as well. So on to our leave no trace principles. So many of us have taken either a pine cone, maybe a rock, maybe you just veered off the trail to dodge a mud puddle or two. Sometimes you got too close to wildlife, or maybe tossed an apple core into the woods. While all of these actions may seem harmless at the time, it's important we learn to reduce our impact to protect our natural spaces. So we can do this by remembering, take only photos and leave only footprints. So I'll go over the 7 principles of leave no trace soon, but it's just a great way to summarize all of the information that we've gone over today and to keep ourselves safe while camping. So here on the screen, you can see a beautiful image of a grassy park. So often when we go for a hike or go camping, we only think about our personal impact. For example, if I'm eating a granola bar and I don't want to put the sticky wrapper into my pocket, I might just drop it on the side of the trail and think, that's not a big deal because it's only one small piece of litter. Obviously, though, if everyone does this, our parks quickly become landfills. They become full of garbage. And it's important that we don't just think about the impact that we have in the broader terms than just litter. So for example, here's a picture that shows an empty park. Everything is nice and clean. Now let's look at what happens when we add people to the park. So you can see lots of people are very considerate and the space looks roughly the same when they leave. However, even having lots of people walk in the same area, it begins to change the landscape a bit. So as you can see, the more people, the less clean the park becomes. So I'll add those people back again just so you can see the difference. So someone here looks like they had a small barbecue perhaps, and it left a mark of dead grasses. Someone maybe left their water bottle behind over here. So imagine what it's like for a national park that has tens of thousands of visitors every year. So it doesn't have to be this way. When we follow the leave no trace principles, we can enjoy our parks and keep them clean as well. So here's these principles I keep talking about. There's 7 different ones. The first one we've already gone over, and that's to plan ahead and prepare. So by completing a safety plan, you can cross off this principle. The next is to travel and camp on durable surfaces. So this is when you want to stay on the trails, only camp on official campsites. And this will really help us protect ourselves from unknown hazards like those poisonous plants I mentioned earlier. It's also important to note to always keep your pet on a leash. This just ensures that we're not damaging any protected areas. And it'll also keep your pet away from ticks, which are some bugs that can potentially carry Lyme disease. Next, number 3, it's dispose of waste properly. So whatever you bring with you, you need to pack it out with you as well. Number 4 is leave what you find. So please leave any rocks, plants, and other natural objects as you find them. I know sometimes they can be really beautiful, but it's important to leave these natural objects there. And it's also important to leave our natural spaces better than how we found it by picking up any litter we might see. So next is to minimize campfire impacts. This we can do by just using established areas. So always check for different fire bans before lighting a fire, and only use designated fire pits in campgrounds to reduce the risk of starting a forest fire. Number 6, we already gone over as well, respect wildlife. So use the thumb rule to observe wildlife from a distance. And please remember to never feed animals. It's illegal and very dangerous. And the last one is just to be considerate of others. So respect other visitors. You can do this by maybe yielding on the trail to other users, and try to avoid making loud noises as well. So we have a couple of calls to action that we are asking of everyone. So the first is to learn the leave no trace principles. Those are the ones that I just went over. They will really help you ensure that you're safe throughout your time outdoors. The next is to leave a safety plan. Please respect wildlife. And you can also download the Adventure Smart app to learn a bit more about being safe outdoors and to make your safety plan as well. And if you're interested in learning any more information about the topics that I've gone over today, you can visit our website. You can see it here on the screen, parkscanada.gc.ca. We also have an email and a phone number that you can contact us at, and Twitter and Facebook if you'd like to stay connected with us on social media. And that brings us to the end of our presentation, but we do have some time to answer any questions. Maybe if I missed one in the chat, or you can ask them out loud as well. Okay, I see one question here from Benjamin. What SPF sunscreen should we bring? That's a great question. I know sunscreens can come in a range of different SPF. I would always say just go for the highest one. So usually around 60 is great. Then you don't have to apply it as much, and yeah, you just will be confident knowing that the higher the SPF, the more you'll be protected. I don't think SPF 2400 exists, but if it did, it would be okay. That's okay. If you don't have a cell phone and you don't understand apps, that's all good. Like I said, you can definitely just write down your safety plan on a piece of paper and give it to someone, or if you text them, email them, any form of communication to give your safety plan to someone else is okay. The question here, is there a fee to park and enter the Rouge Park? And the answer to that is no. We have free parking, and it's always free to visit as well. So no entry fee and no parking fee. So another question, what would be the youngest recommended age to take babies/toddlers camping? That's a great question. I think it really depends on what you're comfortable with. I know families who take their babies very young. I know Donnelly was taken very young as well. So I don't think there's a too young of age. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. Benjamin, yeah, the Adventure Smart app is free. We have a question about advice about hiking in the wintertime. So yeah, like I said earlier about hiking or just being outdoors in the cold, you want to make sure that you're always bringing extra layers with you. I always like to bring hot liquids with me as well. So maybe a thermos with some tea. You burn a lot of calories and energy very quickly when it's cold outside. So bring lots of snacks to keep your energy up, and just remind yourself that it's okay to take lots of breaks as well. So another question, is it still possible to book campsites? And the answer is yes, of course. It is pretty booked up right now, but you are able to find a lot of last-minute cancellations. It depends what time you're looking to go camping, but definitely check out either the Parks Canada reservation website or the Ontario Parks reservation website, and you should be able to find some campsites there.
I think it's a lot easier to find campsites if you're willing to take one that's not electric. So the electric sites are the ones that are in higher demand. But if you're camping in a tent and you don't need electricity, I think there's quite a few of those that you can still book at different spots and stuff. So it kind of depends what you're looking for, but so yeah, you'll definitely have more luck if you're looking for non-electric. And I was just going to add a quick little personal safety tip. And I see that someone's mentioning about twisting their ankle, and that's something that I've seen happen. It hasn't happened to me when I was hiking, but I know people that it's happened to. Sometimes people they're just going for a hike, and it's just a day hike. It's not a big overnight hike or anything, but they're still not wearing proper footwear, and it's really hard to do a hike on a trail if you're just wearing flip-flops or something like that, because rocks can be slippery and you're going up and down and stuff like that. So that would be one of my biggest safety tips for people, is to, if you're going for a hike, just make sure you're wearing proper shoes. I've seen people trying to go for hikes wearing heels and little high-heeled sandals. I mean, I love heels, but you can't really wear them on a trail and do a hike in heels. So you really want to watch out for your ankles. A twisted ankle can be a real problem because it's really hard to get back out of the trail if you can't walk. But one of the things you can do to help is to just make sure you're wearing proper footwear. So that's one of my tips. And I see someone saying for Ontario Provincial Parks, you can book 5 months in advance. You can book 5 months in advance. That's the longest window that you can book for provincial parks, but there's still lots of sites if you look.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Donnelly. Thanks for sharing that. I'd also add that try to go on your outdoor adventures with somebody else or in a group. It's always better if there's more people there. So if something does happen, maybe one of you can go get help.
And I was also going to say one more tip is if you're starting off for a hike, you want to make sure you can get back before it gets dark.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I've seen people and they're leaving on a trail, and it's a pretty long trail, and you know that there's really only about half an hour of daylight left. So sometimes of year, like right now, we have more daylight, but by the end of August, you're starting to have less daylight again. So you want to know what time it's going to get dark, and make sure you actually have enough time to get back before it gets dark. Because being out on a trail, once you lose that daylight, it is shocking how dark it can get in the woods once you don't have that direct sunlight, and it's harder for it to get through the trees. It can get dark faster than you think. So yeah, you want to always check your time and how long that hike is really going to take you, because it can be scary out there at night. So if you still have more questions, you can certainly still put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves and ask a question if you like. But if there aren't any more questions, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Briley and Vanessa. And thank you so much for doing this whole series. I think it's been a fantastic series. We have recorded the session, so we will be making those available on our website over the next few weeks. So if you missed any of the sessions, you can take a look and see as they become available on the website, and maybe watch one or two of the ones that you might have missed. But certainly if you have any more questions, there's still time. But I just wanted to make sure I had a chance to say a very sincere thank you to Briley and Vanessa. This has been a fantastic series.
Well, thank you so much, Donnelly, for having us, and to the Vaughan Public Library. We've had a great time interacting with everyone throughout this series.